and some see it as a blatant flouting of the Just Say No anti-drug campaign. It features colorful centerfold photos of marijuana in many forms, portraying the drug as an integral part of a modern lifestyle. The offices of advertisers in High Times have been searched as part of a nationwide raid called Operation Green Merchant. That has made advertisers jittery, and High Times says its circulation has dropped by the hundreds of thousands. We want to look this morning at the hard times of High Times and whether there is a broader significance to the magazine's troubles. Congressman Lawrence Coughlin of Pennsylvania is vice chairman of the House Select Committee on Narcotics. And joining us from New York is Stephen Hager, editor-in-chief of High Times magazine. Good morning to you both. Thank you for coming in. Let me start with Mr. Hager in New York. What is happening with your magazine? Have you felt the force of the government?
Well, I should clear up a couple of items. First of all, our offices have never been searched by the government, and our circulation is climbing. It's not declining. I think the result of the government repression on our magazine is that our readers are becoming more actively involved in the legalization movement.
So what, do you welcome the government attention? It's good for business?
No, I think that our government is in a very bad state right now. We're bordering on a police state. We've got a higher percentage of people in jail per capita right now than any other nation in the world.
Well, let's restrict it to your magazine. What's happened to you and your magazine?
Well, there's a very serious campaign underfoot by the federal government to put us out of business. Now,
what are they doing? What's the government doing?
They've launched an investigation through a district attorney in New Orleans, but I have to say, I can't really talk about this case. I'm under orders from my attorney not to talk directly about the case, and I can talk about the magazine and its direction and its purpose, but as far as the case in New Orleans, I'm really not allowed to speak about it.
Well, let me see if we can talk just generally here for just a second, then we'll go over to the congressman. Are you being harassed, or do you feel an effort to put your magazine out of business?
Well, in the last 2 years, we've done a lot of research into the reasons why marijuana is illegal. When I came to the magazine, I thought it would be fairly easy to make marijuana legal. I knew the real health figures on it, and I'd seen the studies from Jamaica and Costa Rica, and I knew that marijuana basically lowers your blood pressure. It's very non-toxic. There's no such thing as an overdose of marijuana. You couldn't take enough marijuana to kill yourself. And people that smoke marijuana tend to live longer than people that don't. So I didn't really think it would be a big deal trying to get it legalized. President Nixon had a commission study this in 1971.
Well, do you think what's happening to your magazine is in some way related to your efforts to make marijuana legal?
Well, what we did was we found out why it's really illegal. And ever since that happened, there's been a tremendous amount of pressure put on the magazine. Basically what happened was in 1938 a machine was invented to process hemp fibers, and hemp was about to become the #1 fiber crop of the world because this invention was to hemp what the cotton gin was to cotton. Hemp and marijuana are the same thing. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, they all grew hemp. Direct quote from George Washington, make the most of the hemp fibers, sow it everywhere.
Well, Congressman Coughlin, High Times, does it have a place in American society?
Well, clearly the First Amendment protections for freedom of speech do not extend to advertising illegal activity. And that's exactly what High Times is doing. It's advertising illegal activity. Right here in the August issue is an advertisement for marijuana seeds. That is illegal activity.
How about it, Mr. Hager? Are you advertising illegal activity?
No, we don't advertise marijuana seeds. That ad is an ad for a catalog. It's considered a collector's item. The catalog is something that people have a right to have, just like they have a right to have our magazine. It's a publication. As far as ordering seeds, that's illegal. But I should say that cannabis seeds are legal in the United States. You can, I could give you 800 numbers to order cannabis seeds. You could order 20 pounds for $50. It's considered the best bird feed in the world, and it's regularly sold every day in America.
Are you going to tell me that the real purpose of this seed catalog is to feed birds?
No, but I would say that every car in America could be running on non-polluting hemp seed oil. It's just as cheap as gasoline to produce. All of our clothes could be made out of hemp fiber. It lasts 10 to 20 times longer than cotton. And there's basically nothing you can make out of petrochemicals that can't be made out of this plant.
So all these guys are doing, Congressman, is trying to help the energy crisis.
Well, clearly the advertisements in High Times magazines are not designed to encourage people to use marijuana seeds for feeding birds or for making hemp products. They're designed to encourage people to grow marijuana, illegal marijuana, illicit marijuana, for use as an illicit drug. And if I go back to what the Supreme Court has said in the 1973 case, the Supreme Court said, and I quote, "We have no doubt that a newspaper constitutionally could be forbidden to publish an ad proposing the sale of narcotics." The same as proposing the sale of prohibited explosives or prostitution or other things. And that's what High Times is doing. That's why it's subject to a grand jury investigation. It's not being persecuted. It may be prosecuted as a result of that investigation, but I think that's an appropriate thing to do.
Or should it be
High
shut
Times
down?
has every right to advocate the legalizing of marijuana. That's its right of free speech. But it does not have the right to advertise for an illegal activity at this time.
Where's the line? Where do you draw the line? I mean, if Mr. Hager is saying that there are other uses for marijuana seeds, that would seem to throw some doubt on your example that you pulled out of the magazine there, the seed catalog.
Well, he is not purporting to advertise the marijuana seeds as a feed for birds, and he is not purporting to
But he just
advertise
purported
the
that just
use
now.
of hemp for other products. He's purporting in the magazine to use these seeds for growing and what is now an illegal drug.
Well, no, but he just said that there are other uses for this, that the magazine doesn't encourage people to smoke marijuana or grow it.
I think that if you put it in the context of the thrust of the magazine, it's fairly clear that this is being used for growing marijuana for purposes that are now illegal.
Okay, we'll continue this discussion. We need to take a short break. We'll be right back. Back on Night Watch now, our guests, Congressman Lawrence Coughlin of Pennsylvania and Stephen Hager, the editor of High Times magazine. He says that the government's out to get his magazine. Let me ask you, Mr. Hager, about when we left, the Congressman was talking about the thrust of your magazine, the context of your magazine, and that when taken in context, these ads do encourage people to grow marijuana and smoke marijuana. Let me just first ask you for your response to that. I mean, what is your magazine about, if not promoting marijuana?
Well, it is true when I came to the magazine that I made a decision to encourage people to grow their own marijuana for their own purposes and start indoor closet gardens. And the reason I did this was to get people out of the criminal circuit of going to buy drugs from who knows what and didn't know what you were getting. It seemed to me that the only way to remove ourselves from this criminal enterprise system that is being built up around illegal drugs, and I consider this a very serious problem in America. I'm not in favor of the mob's control of illegal substances. I think it's way out of control.
But your magazine advertises in the trans high market quotation section, which we have a picture of. It advertises, it tells people how much marijuana costs in various cities around the country and sort of gives a review of the marijuana quality. I mean, that seems to me, on the face of it, to indicate that you're giving information about where to buy marijuana and how much it costs and how powerful it is.
No, that's just, that's a feature that's been with the magazine since it began. The readers write in, and we don't have anything to do with that. That's a reader participation
Well,
column.
you do have something to do with it, Mr. Hager. I mean, you publish it, and,
Yeah.
and the information in it is fairly specific.
We publish it because it's the only reliable guide to the market. Marijuana is the #1 crop in America. You could add corn and soybeans together, you probably still wouldn't reach as much money as exchanges hands with marijuana in this country.
Well, Mr. Hager, by publishing the prices and reviews of the potency of marijuana in various cities around the country, where even if the readers are the ones who provide you with that information, I mean, what are we to believe the purpose of that is?